Hey, I'm Justin, and I'm going to show you a little bit of my process when working on the art for Switzer's last robot. Basically, we have one rule when creating robots for the game, and that's to make sure that the robot's design can tell you its story. Usually, it's easy to create a humanoid with 2 legs, 2 arms, a torso, and a head, but we kind of want to push ourselves to be a little bit more creative than that. So, in order to understand what I mean, I'm going to be designing what I call a generic robot. Basically, it's a humanoid that is universally good at everything, including killing the player. So this is my organic workflow. It's when I don't really have an idea what the final design is going to look like, so I start gathering a bunch of old sketches and pictures from the web in hopes of creating something cool. I start blocking a simple design out in 3D using just spheres and cubes until I get a better idea of what I'm looking for. As I model, I'm constantly thinking about how this character is going to move and where all the moving pieces are going to be. It's a lot harder to figure this stuff out on paper ahead of time without having to make constant revisions to the model, so I try to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So this is what I end up with. It's still pretty rough, but now I know what I'm trying to create. I eventually take the design into Photoshop to do a paint over. This process is usually repeated over and over again until I get a decent looking design, but right now I'm only worried about getting an idea on paper as soon as possible. For me, this is a huge time saver, as character design can take a long time, and just because it looks great on paper doesn't mean it's going to look great in 3D. I want to make him look like a vintage robot toy with some minor features, but I'm only focusing on the shapes and proportions. I'm not really worried about details because I know the game has a toony style, and when a game is moving fast, you never really see none of the details anyway unless there's a close-up. I was really struggling making the robot feel vintage enough. That's where color comes in, which really helps sell that tin toy look. The problem with the design is that it's starting to look too much like Mega Man. That can either be a good or bad thing. Another problem is that because the robot is really generic, you never really know what the backstory is. Is it a robot for construction? Is it a military robot? Who knows? Personally, that's a problem that I feel most robot designs have. So this exercise was a good way to understand what are things I can avoid in the future to make sure I can create robots with more personality. Well, that was Generic Robot 101. If you want to learn more about the project, follow us on Facebook and Twitter.